Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two top-tier opponents. And High Elf fans rejoice because Loopy has brought them once more. We're getting a lot of love on the channel recently, the High Elves, and they are going to be taken to battle though up against J Phoenix's Chaos Warriors. Now when you have these two combatants, Loopy and J Phoenix, on a battlefield facing off against each other, you know it's going to be a pretty crazy close battle, and that's just what I'm expecting today. Leading the forces of the High Elves up in the sky, we have an Archmage dropping that armor of the stars here, giving her Stalk and Unspotable. A very powerful item all round. She's going to be coming with Soul Quench and Apotheosis. Pretty cheap on top of this Eagle, and some nice durability as well, being able to fly away, giving her a little bit of a health boost as well, making her quick, unspotable, and a big pest in the Chaos Warriors' hands. For the rest of the build, it looks like we have Silver and Guard on the flanks, a pretty elite backcore, and a cheap and cheerful front, which is to be expected in a lot of builds. We have 3 Spearmen dotted along the front lines, backed up then by the Silver and Guard on the flanks. In the central pocket, we have Swordmasters at Hereth, as well as some Phoenix Guard. Sandwiched in between them is going to be an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower, as well as 1 unit of the Ever Queen's Court Guard, Regiment of Renowned Sisters at Avalon, who can do some pretty disgusting long range, and then double bad to the bones Dragon Princes, these mighty princes used to ride to battle on top of a huge, glorious dragons, and have now been relegated, unfortunately, to horses dressed as dragons, but they still look pretty cool, and gotta give the horses some credit. They are riding into battle rather gloriously here on the big, dusty plains that do await them. Beautiful little temple in the background as well, and statue there of the Tomb Kings. For the forces of J Phoenix and his Chaos Legions, we have more the Horsemasters. 3, in fact, to be very good at trying to kite the enemy, and can do some pretty decent damage on the Archmage if they ever can spot her. He also has the Chaos Warhounds with Poison as a little bit of an escort. For his main battle line, it is the cheap and incredibly happy to be here Chaos Marauders, ready for a good scrap, backed up by a ton of Chaos Warriors, as well as the Mirror Guard, which is the Regiment of Renowned Virgin. Going wide in general tends to be very good up against the High Elves, who are pretty elite and flimsy, so you can surround them and slowly beat them into submission. We have 1 chariot as well on this side and 1 on the far side. Just a regular Chaos Chariot, none of the big scary stuff. Interesting to see how they perform here today. We also have the Summoners of Rage, Regiment of Renowned Dragon Ogres who worship the god Thor and bring down thunder from the skies with their awesome chain lightning. They're also anti-large and going to be doing pretty good damage all round up against those Dragon Princes. Leading the forces, we do have a Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows coming in with Pendulum and Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma. I myself am a big fan of Pendulum up against anyone who has tightly packed formations, and the High Elves are known for them. And leading the army today, it is the villain of the channel in recent times, Sigvald the Magnificent, who we've seen do really well in recent games. Kind of his Oryx armor, giving him that lovely regeneration, immune to psychology, and stand or die, but no slippery, rather interestingly. He also has perfect vigor, so he can be a really scary foe. Looks like Soul Quench is going to be popped onto that Chaos Sorcerer, doing some really lovely damage straight out the gate. There's not much Chaos can do about this. It's basically working as almost like a Glade Lady from the Wood Elves just flowing over and assassinating at targets, which is pretty hilarious. And because of the armor of the stars, which lasts a ridiculously long time, by the way, there's simply no way for these Horsemasters to know where she is going to strike next. Although you can bet she is going to be trying to hunt down the Chaos Sorcerer the majority of the battle. Bolt Thrower currently is going after the Marauder Horsemen, which isn't a bad idea whatsoever. Try to whittle them down where possible. And the Everqueen's Court Guard are pushing forward as well, coming out of their little defensive shell a little bit to try and whittle down the enemy. Horsemen taking pretty considerable damage at this point, and you can see the Sisters do loose a few arrows. Those magical darts easy to track through the air, but not quite so easy to dodge, as the Horsemen take some pretty big damage before falling back behind the friendly advance. The second Soul Quench is going to go in, and the Chaos Sorcerer is going to get clobbered straight off his feet, beaten to the ground, the wind punched out of him, but he's a true trooper here, getting back up onto his feet and jogging back into formation. Now, no puny little elf magic shall stop him, at least I'm sure that's what he thinks in his mind, as his body deteriorates around him. Looks like the Sisters are going to go after Prince Sigvald the Magnificent, which isn't a bad idea, trying to whittle him down a little bit, getting closer to his healing cap, but of course he does have a silver shield, 110 armor and regeneration, not going to be too easy to assassinate him from long range. Big fat pendulum coming down, beautifully cast there by the Chaos, catching the Everqueen's Court Guard, doing some massive damage, although a well-placed Apotheosis is going to heal them up. They didn't actually lose any models from that, so they're not in too shabby shape. Chaos Warhounds do manage to weave their way through the front line, but all they're going to meet is some Dragon Princes, and that is not a good engagement, funnily enough, for the Hounds, who are going to get slaughtered by the far more elite Princes. Phoenix Guard are starting to move up into position as well. Got to be a little worried though. Summons of Rage are overloading that flank on that side. Another Soul Quench is going to be coming in from the Archmage. Looks like it may have even been overcast. And, oh no, just like a regular one. Doing some okay damage. He's down to below half health at this point as the front line has engaged. Chaos Chariots are going to be used as a battering ram along the flanks, just weaving their way through the front line. Although Dragon Princes do come with a lovely counter charge in there to try and pin them in place, and that is the best way to deal with Chariots. You pin them in there and then finish them off that way. Archmage pops Arcane Conduit and comes in for a sneaky little peck on the rear side of that Chaos Sorcerer before falling back through the Mirror Guard and their own troops. Swordmaster Hoef currently dueling the elite of the Chaos Warriors. Phoenix Guard have engaged in the front lines, trying to hold back the Chariots. A load of javelins are flown overhead, aiming at the Archmage. Equal Bolt Threat is currently still online, and this is a big problem so far for Chaos. The Everqueen's Court Guard as well, the Sister Avalon, doing a good job focus firing down at the Marauder Horsemen still, pushing them back. One unit is already wavering, the other one is also getting pretty close. The mighty Archmage is flying afar here. I think she's probably going to want to loop back and then strike down upon these Chaos Marauders, help the Dragon Princes break them down a little bit quicker. But another Soul Quench comes in, making perfect connection this time. Chaos Sorcerer nearly done for at this point. Summons of Rage are pushing through, as well as some decent micro as well from the Chaos player, forcing through the Chaos Warriors, but realising he has to engage the Sylvan Guard to keep them at bay, allowing the Summons of Rage to come in, although the Dragon Princes are going to countercharge them ferociously into the Maws of Death. They ride, and they're doing some really lovely damage on the charge. Summons of Rage and Dragon Ogres in general don't have the most insane armor, only 60, so they're a little bit squishy if they get charged themselves. Doing some good damage backward, but with the ever watchful Overwatch fire from the Everqueen's Court Guard, the Dragon Princes should be able to reign supreme, but only just taking massive casualties, sacrifice themselves to save the sisters, only for some Marauder Horsemen to sneak through the front line, which is starting to crumble now for the High Elf Legions. Second unit of Dragon Princess is starting to float into the back line, get ready to protect their troops. Equal Bolt Threat is online once more, but there's only so much you could do when Prince Sigvald leads a horde of ravenous warriors through the front line, butchering the Swordmasters on their approach, and now hunting down the Bolt Threat crew. But this is exactly what you should do if you're the High Elf player in this position. You drop your artillery pieces and you leg it. You leg it as far as you can. You make it as annoying as possible for your opponent to chase them down. You can see the Chaos realize we're needed elsewhere. We can't afford to waste resources chasing this crew. We have to go over here and engage with the main threat, which of course is the Everqueen's Court Guard and the Dragon Princes and the Archmage, who has been hit by Melkov's Mystifying Miasma, slowing her down as she comes in for the assassination attempt on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Just about escaping, maybe in the nick of time. No, the Mirror Guard do catch up with her. Oh my god, she's just about maybe getting clipped by Marauder. Gets back up into the skies. That was very lucky stuff for her down there, as unfortunately for the Dragon Princess, less lucky. Summons of Rage continue to fight here to the death, pretty much. Down very low on health, have beat down those Dragon Princes and popped their lovely little lightning as well. Unfortunately for them, it was going to do some decent damage actually to the Dragon Princess in fairness, and going through the spin. It looked like it was going to roll through the Marauders and Chaos Warriors with a little bit of friendly fire, but mainly good damage there. Archmage darts down on top of the Summons of Rage, forcing them back and breaking them from the field for good. But they've done a pretty decent job all round. Now, the problem that the High Elves have at the moment is a lot of their forces of strength are isolated. We have some Swordmasters here with a Bolt Thrower not on its position. Sisters over here, Phoenix Guard here. It's all a little bit ragged, but again, so are the Chaos. A lot of their troops are breaking to the might of the Phoenix Guard, which is quite ironic because obviously he's up against Mr. Phoenix himself. These guys are coming over here to try to chase back the Prince. Marauder Horsemasters are decent combatants, but certainly so are the Everqueen's Court Guard. They come in with a, really decent 47 melee attack and 60 melee defense. Looks like they are currently buffed up at the moment by the beautiful Banner of Avalon, as well as the martial prowess and all that good stuff. So it's going to allow them to beat back the Horsemasters and then fall back, trying to allow the Phoenix Guard to catch up and duel Prince Sigvald, at least keep in position at him a little while the rest of the build does get mopped up. Bolt Thrower crew do desperately rush back to their artillery pieces, but unfortunately are jumped here by some Marauders and Warriors who are ever watchful. Good play there by both players, trying their best to scrap it out for that artillery piece. Chaos Chariot does loop back up and around, start pushing its way through the Sylvan Guard, but Sylvan Guard forming a stalwart shield wall, pinning in the Chaos Warriors, surrounding them in a big old... I love it when all the spears come in one go and just start jabbing. Chaos Warriors are completely surrounded, but they are elite warriors and should be able to hold the line relatively well. But speaking of elite troops, in come the Swordmasters saturated on top. That should turn this engagement in the favour of the High Elves, although there are some more Chaos Warriors rallying to the cause. A load of their troops do start to come back into the play. Dragon Princes are going to be trying to mop up enemies on the approach, but only 8 left. They're not going to have that much of a thunderous charge. So, they push a few guys back, but every single charge they are going to be losing models, and every time a Dragon Prince falls, a elf somewhere does weep, and down they go. Over in the main fight, though, the Archmage using her speed to bounce around and really try to hammer down these Chaos Trouts wherever possible, because there's still 3 models. Their damage output is still exactly the same as from the start of the battle, despite they've lost so much health. But now they are wavering, and the Archmage should definitely escort them off the field where possible. In the far distance, the Everqueen's Court Guard unleashing shots upon the Chaos Warriors, who do try to close the distance. These ladies have used up pretty much all their ammunition, meaning they've most likely got some really decent value. We have to find out at the end. Prince Sigvald is currently completely surrounded by these elite troops, and he's taken no damage. He's near his healing cap, though. But apart from that, he's just been standing here quite happily cutting up Phoenix Guard, getting 46 kills. And now he's going to dart back onto the Everqueen's Court Guard to try and finish them off for good. All the rallying troops of both sides are fighting on this far side. Swordmaster, however, are the final ones to go down, but they do indeed fall. Chaos Warriors breaking as well, but it looks like for the most part, Chaos starting to come into a pretty nice position themselves. Fantastic Archmage play, though, throughout. Chasing off units, hunting down characters, doing a really good job. The High Elves will have to now make a last stand amongst the Phoenix Guard, but it's a very close game still. Everqueen's Court Guard once again fleeing, dragging Prince Sigvald away from those Phoenix Guard is pretty key right now, because they need to stay alive, and the longer they fight on by themselves rather than with the Prince, they should do pretty good work. Everqueen's Court Guard still have a volley or 2 left as well. They definitely want to unleash that where possible, because all the returning Chaos forces are so battered they're wavering by simply seeing the Phoenix Guard in the distance. Archmage is going to come for a dive and approach here onto the rear of Prince Sigvald, doing some nice damage. Is going to try to trot away, but does get a shield bash in the rear for her troubles. Phoenix Guard rushing to her aid, but also to their doom as the Prince does some really lovely damage. Everqueen's Court Guard do use up some of their last ammunition on these Summons of Rage, as well as these Horsemasters. Probably going to be able to break both units. Definitely the Summons of Rage. Horsemasters do make contact, but a lovely counter swoop from the Archmage is going to shatter these guys for good, and it will most likely come down once again to Prince Sigvald the Magnificent, making a last stand up against the sways of troops. It's kind of the way all battles go with him. He is so disgustingly tanky. The last ammunition is still being spent, once again aiming at those Summons of Rage, just don't want them to come back. One of them is killed and the other one decides, you know what, I'm not really about this life anymore, and does get shattered off the field completely for good. Some Chaos Warriors are trying to rally to the cause. This is Avalon falling back past the Prince just in case they need to rein in some more firepower from afar. Archmage, though, using that mobility, breaking the Chaos Warriors, should be able to escort them quite comfortably, and that is going to be it. It's pretty much what you see is what you get, a Prince versus an army. But what is a Prince to an Archmage? We'll have to find out. Arcane Conduit has been popped, meaning we may get some more Soul Quenchers or Apotheosis. Apotheosis on the Phoenix Guard would be quite nice, as they are suffering badly at the moment. The Prince, beaten, bloodied, but not defeated, continues to slay troops wherever he goes. The Sisters do a lovely little bit of friendly fire there, killing their own troops. I'm sure the Phoenix Guard don't really support that approach, and they do get an Apotheosis, but another one that takes an arrow to the back. In fact, they shoot his corpse multiple times. The utter disrespect. Obviously, the Phoenix Guard have upset someone here, as those last volleys do get unleashed. Although, for the most part, it did do some good damage back to the Prince, so it's honestly probably worth it, which is not nice if you're one of these Phoenix Guard, but all around it is for the greater good. Prince Sigvald, though, is still a beast, up to 80 kills. The Archmage swoops in once more. Going to need to do some really effective cycle charging all round, because if she stays in combat too long, the Prince will dismantle her with accurate blow after blow. And every time she comes in, yeah, she's losing health pretty quick, down to 1,395 health. The Everqueen's Court Guard have had to charge into hand-to-hand combat, not where they want to be, but as we said earlier, they're pretty decent there as well. Balance power is quite heavily in the High Elf favour. I don't think there's much chance of breaking Prince Sigvald. You're going to have to kill him at this point, as he's getting some really big hits on the Archmage, down to 890 health. Chaos Warriors were trying to rally, but looks like they have given up hard, yet their Prince fights on. He's getting very low. He's at his healing cap, down to 1,000 health. Phoenix Guard and Everqueen's Court Guard both getting very low. Once more, the Archmage floats into the fray. Glorious little flap and attack animation as well, trying to peck out the eyes of the Prince, who kind of gets shoved away by some of the Everlords. We got the Court Guard, we got the Phoenix Guard, all the guards here putting their lives on the line, desperately trying to protect the Archmage, who's risking her life time and time again. The Prince down to just 685 health, but herself down to just 890. Looks like she actually flings some of her own bodyguards around, going down to 300 health. Oh, this is scary stuff. Archmage, flee for your life. As the Everqueen's Court Guard, as well as the Phoenix Guard, getting very low on morale right now, almost tying it up with the Princes, who is going to be taking another big blow to the face. And that was a good hit coming in, taking away about 200 HP from the Archmage's assault, but themselves is down, and with one big slaying uppercut, the Phoenix does fall. The Eagle does fall, I should say. Phoenix Guard, though, continue to fight on, and it looks like Prince Sigvald getting his quarry, killing the Archmage who's done him so much harm today, does actually break to the very battered elite forces there of the High Elf troops. What a crazy game. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That was absolute madness. Massive shout out to Loopy and Jay Phoenix for a fantastic game, and especially Loopy for sending this one in as well via my Discord. There's a link down below if you want to get involved in the Discord, tournaments, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, very well played. Super close game and two really interesting fun builds. Before we do get into damage value, damage dealt and all that good stuff, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. You can also comment down below. I do read through all my comments and really do appreciate them. If you want to get involved in the tournament scene, like I said before, send me replays. There's links down below to my Discord as well as my Patreon if you want to support my channel. I'm also starting to think maybe of doing lessons for people as well, just for brand new players. I'm not the world's greatest player or anything like that, but I think doing lessons might be a good little tier to add to the Patreon perhaps, but give me some feedback on that if that's something you guys would be interested in. But wait, as for the build, Jay Phoenix of course bringing Sigvald the Magnificent, and he comes in once again with some insane damage value. 3,127, 12k damage dealt, 109 kills. Now he does suffer from being a Footlord in the sense that he's not going to be able to beat everyone on the battlefield at once, but when it comes down to the dogged end games, he's an absolute nightmare to deal with. The regeneration kind of kept him in the fight, and he really did do a number over on those Phoenix Guard, getting some lovely value and nearly carrying the day. Chaos Sorcerer did a good job to get the value they did get. 1,256 is certainly no joke, considering they were sniped out very early on. Some of those pendulums were absolutely beautiful. Chaos Marauders just did their job getting in there, scrapping out, as did the Chaos Warriors. You know, some penned themselves, some not, basically. And the Mirror Guards struggled a little bit. They did come up against the Sword Masters of Hoeth, but all round a nice little swarm. Unfortunately, towards the end, though, a lot of his troops did start to break and run. Some of the chariots are suffering quite badly. Another one not doing too fantastic, not too terrible, though. 738 damage value is nothing to scoff at. As for the Horse Masters themselves, they did okay, kind of getting counter-shot early on by the Bolt Thrower and Sisters did negate some of their power in the late game, and the Chaos Warhounds went for a rather daring charge into the back to try and shut down the enemy, but got hammered in return by the Dragon Princes. Overall, the Summons of Rage did absolutely fantastic. I thought they were done for when they got counter-charged by the Dragon Princes and shot by the Sisters, but they just stuck it out to the bitter end. 1,962 damage value, 8,711 damage dealt. These certainly were really fantastic performers for the Warriors of Chaos. As for Loopy, absolutely top class Archmage play. Archmages on Eagle are very squishy, so they can be pretty hard to use. We saw at the end him that actually going down, simply even by just cycle charging a single character. So you've got to be very careful of them, but very masterfully used. 1,835 damage value, 6,571 damage dealt, but it's also the healing and the routing off troops, which is where the power of the very mobile Lord does come in. Spearmen held the line relatively well, so did the Silver Guard. That was kind of their job, to try and hold back the tide as long as possible. Swordmasters getting 1,400 damage value, 10,000 damage dealt, 94 kills. Really badass Warriors had to cleave through a lot of the kind of mid-tier troops the Warriors of Chaos did bring. The Phoenix Guard suffered towards the end, but performed very good throughout the whole course of the battle, and at least managed to pin in the Prince to allow the other units to eventually slowly drag him down as well. Getting over 10,000 damage dealt, 1,869 damage value is pretty impressive stuff. As for the Sisters, using up pretty much all their ammunition, did fantastic burst damage to both the summoners as well as key targets throughout the battle. Over 2,000 damage value, 11,000 damage dealt. That's some pretty scary stuff. Now, Dragon Prince is one of those units I struggle to use personally because I tend to get them killed all the time, which isn't the best way to use them. But here we saw them being used as a counter-initiation unit, not whipping around the flanks or anything silly like that, playing it defensively and then hammering home key targets and pin them in place. 105 kills, nearly 1,000 damage value on this one, 64 kills and 2,000 damage value, so it's certainly more quality over quantity with this unit and vice versa on this one. This one came for a lot of chaff, which is always useful. This one doing a damage to the big guns throughout, getting some really beautiful play. Equal bolt throw as well. Didn't manage to quite get crazy damage value. 40 kills though, still good. 4,000 damage dealt, 574 damage value, but it still succeeded in its job, which is to lure in the chaos, force them to come to you, and force them to make mistakes by darting hounds into the back line stuff when they're unsupported and getting them overrun. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.